Good to go. Okay, we are live this morning, and it's the conference committee on the transportation bill, H.479. We're meeting for our first time, and I just thought that we'd get together and see some of the minor things, or what you agree, or disagree, and we go from there. Because you got a little time this morning, trying to sneak in these 2 minutes. As we know, everybody's going crazy right now. So with that, I don't know how we want to handle it, how we want to proceed with it.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
How about we go through the some of the one of the documents that Angie is.
Sure. This one here.
Yes, I think either one there. Okay, I have an earlier version that's on a smaller piece of paper, but
Give us
how
a
about we
big
go through and we can see.
I didn't see that. Okay.
The people
No,
who
they're-
mine, because I think mine is it's the same, it's just this.
All right, we'll start somewhere. Go right ahead. Yeah.
How about we start from the top, like, and to see, would you like to just go through and see where we're all, where.
I know you're going to agree with everything, so that's.
They're good, yeah, I don't think, I just.
Okay, we're to go.
I guess our work is done here.
We got a signature sheet somewhere. Okay.
Great, so why don't we just start from the top of
Sure.
the page? So I think on the first section 1, we're okay with that, and also section 2. So the
1, 2.
and when I say sections, I think I'm going to say, you know, the sections that passed in your bill.
Are we going on the sheet? We're working on the sheet.
So yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we're all.
Yeah, we looked that over yesterday.
Yep.
Went down the list.
All right.
And then on the highway maintenance reduction, I think we want to come back to that with
We'll
some
leave that
thoughts.
open.
We'll leave that open. And I think the same is true for the paving stuff. We just want to come back and
Okay.
talk about that a little bit.
Yep.
And then the same would be for the one-time appropriations. We'll just come back. That's in section 3. We'll come back.
Okay.
And then of the St. Albans District Main Facility, there were no changes, so we are okay with that. I think the next 2 sections, we want to come back with the rail trail, community connectivity grants, just want to come back with some thoughts on that. I don't think they're going to be big thoughts, but Mike, is this all right? Are you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, and then authorization to sell and lease the Caledonia Airport. I think we want to come back with some.
We had a nice, we had a nice meeting with all local folks. They were all in agreement. It was amazing because we thought we were going to get some feedback, but everybody was positive on it. It was just an amazing thing. Because I guess they were excited because we got involved
Yes.
from day one, because it came to us fast. And the response was great.
We had a public meeting at the airport, 50 people showed up, and it was very, very positive.
So anyway, I know it's a big.
And we heard from those folks too, and
We did,
heard from the
okay.
same folks, and we very positive, and I
Yeah.
think there are a lot of merits. I think they're just a couple.
Sure, no, that's
small
fine.
And
things.
Representative Campbell was there too.
Yeah. Okay. So
So, and so I think that, both of those 5A and 5B are related to the airport, so we probably just.
we had some new language on the bypass from Dick Sears.
Yeah, the next one, 21 years, it's come to an end.
Yeah, I didn't know,
But-
you and I discussed bypass 100 years ago.
Yeah.
But this was, so I guess he had proposed some language to us.
Well, Sears, I think, got up on the
Yeah.
floor of the Senate
I was-
and, had concerns about it, so he sort of talked me off the ledge. I think where we are
You
now.
like
is-
the language he put in, or?
Yes, as long as it addresses his concern. He had concerns about getting access to the Welcome Center heading north.
Okay.
And,
There's nobody.
Go around.
Yeah. All right. And then the land that was bought for the southern leg, that to engage the town to use it for a rail trail. And working with the agency, they came up with some language in it.
Whatever, you're very happy.
Yeah. And Dick's fine with it. The agency is fine with it.
Okay, all right, okay, so.
Right, so we move past Bennington, so the next section, the transportation alternative grants, there were no changes, we're fine. The central garage fund, we were fine with that, section 9, and then we want to come back with some thoughts about the one-time public transit money for a GMT plan.
Okay.
So I'm just flagging that one.
Yeah.
The next two sections were fine. I think you did some really great improvements actually on that language about the funding for public transit and getting that, some of those recommendations. So we are fine with those two. And then the next three sections, sections 13, 14, 15, at the bottom of page 11, were all okay. There were no changes. And the same with the past future authorization clarifications.
What about the 3-year incentive program? You're all right with that? 12?
Yeah.
Yeah, section.
Yeah. Yep, in section 17, yeah. We heard from those folks too, some of the folks that you heard from in our community. The e-bike incentive program, I think there's a little tweak, because we had some discussion about what might need to have, might need to be effective on passage.
Having to do with the BAA money that went out, and at what point does the new qualifications kick in? That's just what it's about.
Right, so that.
So we'll come back, we'll come back with some language, we hope, for that. And then the next two sections, the authority to modify, or the several sections, I'll say, authority to modify e-bike programs, no changes, of course, we're fine. And then with that, and then the reallocation of funding for incentive programs. There was something that came up yesterday, and that might be, and I just want to make sure that we're checking in with India just about
Yeah, goes to being effective on
passage as well. So because they're kind of with the previous sections, they it makes sense to bundle them together in that way.
Okay.
Demands-based user fee, small changes, those are all okay. And the MBUF authorization also okay from our side. And then the next three items, there were no changes or no substantive changes. The MBUF design, the MBUF reports, and the carbon reduction programs all okay. There was I know the Senate doesn't like the next section had to do with the report, and I think we had two reports in there, like a draft report and a final report. And
Which one is this?
this is the carbon, the 28, yeah.
20, okay, down.
So I think we just wanted to make sure look at the date of that, because I think the date of that report,
Yeah.
having it, so we'll come back with the recommendation, I think, for that. Complete streets, these next two complete street sections, you didn't make any changes, so we're okay. And the same with sections 31 and 32. On complete streets, we're okay with all of those changes. Those were good changes that you made. And then the next three, sections 33, 34, 35, there were no changes, so I think we're all okay with that. And then I think with the micro mobility safety education, I think there was support for that. I think there was a suggestion of adding something to that we might want
That's
to
bike
add.
safety.
Yeah, the bikes.
I worked on that for a while.
Which is-
We all did. And I just thought at the time with electric bikes now, nobody knows the rules of the road. I mean, because if they go 35 miles an hour. I just want to make some safety issues. Last year, I talked to the bike people that said, there's no problem. I said, well, why are we going to wait for a problem? Because they are highways. Do they go with traffic? Do they go on the side of the road? Do they, I think there should be some sort of, I don't know the answer, but some sort of training or.
I agree 100% with you, and feeding off of that, the only thing I would like to add, because I don't think a lot of people know, or maybe they do know, is the DUIs. I mean, you can't get a DUI on those things.
Yeah, I asked
Said, you go 35 miles an hour, you get public intoxication, but you don't.
I went
get
by
a
my
DUI.
story that day, he was on a bike and he was texting it with no hands on it.
You know, the end of the street down here, two of them just blew the stop sign. I mean, I think
Yeah.
I think that everybody tries to be safe, but I think if you follow bicycles long enough, you're gonna see that they're violating the law. But I think the biggest part of this committee was the young kids on these e-bikes that are now, I know Senator Chitten's daughter had a little bit of a spill, and they're getting these vehicles, they're finding their new freedom, and they're on the open roads, they haven't taken driver's ed yet, they don't know any of the rules and changes. And I think it's just time that we get ahead of that before there's a major problem.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would just like to add that they do specifically look at the DUI laws too, you know, whether or not they should be enforced on e-bikes.
So to be honest with you, we could always tell before e-bikes were prevalent, the people that lost their license to DWI because they were driving an e-bike.
Yeah.
You know, and so, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I would agree with
Especially with
that.
the speeds that they go.
Yeah.
So that's, I think it sounds like we were,
Yeah,
the
okay.
committee was supportive of that.
I have an e-bike, but I don't turn it.
I have an e-bike too. Actually, if you don't have one, it's funny, I feel like a witch on a broom on my e-bike, I gotta say.
So you are gonna work on some of the languages.
Yeah,
and some of
so-
these, okay.
Yeah, and I just don't want to pass over, we are okay with the fee increases being deleted. So, yeah, so,
I just thought that should have been a separate item altogether, that we were up or down, that's what.
well, we got it over, we got it, every vehicle, so.
I know.
So, so we just have a couple of things, I don't think any of these are major
Okay.
things, but we can bring back a package to
That'd be
you.
great.
And when, before we leave today, could we figure out what time that might be? Or
Well, that's-
do you know what you're doing on, we're coming back on Monday, but. I
Well,
don't know.
Monday, we're just having a total session. Senate.
No, no,
We're gonna be back.
We're full 10 o'clock on Monday.
I've rearranged my schedule and I can be here on Monday.
And we're coming in at
Monday
one.
was-
Not unless they,
I think it's a full session, but I don't think they're gonna push anything major because not everybody.
I thought it was just to move the calendar. Well, we'll have to find
well,
out.
Maybe we should.
that language has changed then since yesterday, so I haven't heard that.
I know we'll be here at one.
The house is coming in at 1 o'clock.
So we'll play it by ear, I guess.
You can play it by ear, so.
We could, yeah, if you're
Well,
coming
we
in
could- I do
earlier,
have-
we could come
When will
earlier.
you have the package over to us? I think.
Well,
that
I
we-
think it might make sense on Tuesday morning.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe Do something on Tuesday morning.
Yeah, I mean, because like I said, there's other parts that are moving throughout the building.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So Tuesday might be the day for us. to-
So-
We could probably do like an 8:30 Tuesday morning, if that's possible. Would that be something that we could?
I think so, we're all here.
Yeah, because we'll all be here anyway.
Yeah, we're usually here
We'll
anyway.
be here Monday.
I'll bring
So
it
when do
up.
we tentatively plan on that? We'll have donuts, it sounds like, so.
Questions, comments?
If you want to expand upon some of sections, the first three that you highlighted, section 2, 3, 5, 5A, and B, I'd just love to get that general idea of some of the thoughts that are on your mind if you're willing to share them at this point.
I think those are the sections we need to wait that are moving through the other parts of,
That helps.
that's the other discussions.
I mean, yeah, there was $28 million in the capital budget. You know,
Yeah.
that's not our purview,
Okay.
you know? So, yeah, so those gotta get resolved in and of themselves.
And so the other, the S99, we gone through this morning. I didn't have a full committee, so we're gonna review it, and you guys gonna get them all, and then we can go from there, maybe
Great.
see where we stand there. The biggest issue was the towing. Not really.
It's been the theme of
We've
the,
spent
big
a
theme of the
tremendous amount of
discussion,
time
hasn't
with
it?
Towing. It was a tough subject, but I think this morning we got some good consensus, so we'll go from there.
Great, great.
That was a big part of the bill, controversy, but everybody wants to do the right thing, but you don't want to hurt anybody.
Absolutely. We want to.
So many complexities.
Yes, it is. It's a very involved subject, so, but we have, as soon as the committee looks at it all, we just do this. Very much of this. That discussion. Anything else you want to bring up at this time?
Did you want to talk about public transit, like, or just wait?
Sure, why don't we talk a little bit about that? I think, since you were asking about the funding, I think that, we heard at the beginning of the session from Green Mountain Transit, and I think you agreed that they need some help with it, and we appreciate that. And I think we had some concerns, however, we were taking from the $108 million highway maintenance budget. Which, yeah, the typical, with language that if there's, that there can be reversions. And in a typical year, there are at least it's like $11 million, And we just felt that, we had the committee had some concerns about what, the public transit program absorbing a lot of that, and how that might impact the other service providers. So,
Didn't we have a different funding mechanism? Didn't the agency find a different way? Didn't Ross McDonald find funds available without taking that $1 million? And I think there might have been some buy-in from the public transit sector of it, but I think $750 million of that was found in a different funding source.
It
And
was
like,
250 and 500, and Tim, why don't you chime
Yeah,
in here?
no.
'Cause you-
I think what the agency was doing is, they found the money internally. They had some of their seats that were coming in and they felt comfortable that they were able to absorb that. But, as the year progresses, things change, budget changes, they're gonna come forward and we think that's gonna get eaten up, their buffer that they have. So our mindset is, if you look at the maintenance budget and in just past history, even this year, they considered $1.8 million clawed back. Last year, we were fighting tooth and nail, how we should take money from them. Here they are, rescinded, 1.8. They had $11 million that they did carry forward. If you go back the year before, I think it was like $9 million to carry forward. So the comfort level of where you should go with the money without potentially affecting local providers, I think is in the maintenance budget. It just is. And then we had follow-up language saying that there is, excess money that they're able to backfill that cut. So that's sort of where our mindset is sort of where would you prefer to go? And ours, just on past history and the data shows us the maintenance. It seems like there's a buffer there.
I guess the only problem that I had with that is that they recognized that they could come up with $1 million, but they had a way that they thought that they could do it better other than stealing it from maintenance. And, I hate to use the word steal, and I won't use that word again, but borrowing it from maintenance. But they were very comfortable in finding a different funding source to move that forward. But again, we don't want to.
Well, they can work that out.
They can work it out, yeah.
So, but that's, you were just saying that our mindset, and that's where we're coming from. So,
Helps, thank you.
So any members of your committee want a different light for fire trucks this year or anything? Oh, I'm
Green
sorry.
lights.
That's gonna be our second package.
Disco ball.
Disco ball.
Purple lights.
Yeah.
Purple lights.
Disco ball, we cover them all. You just gotta pick the light as it goes around.
I'm glad you showed up.
Just keep for the paint.
Anything else this morning?
I think we are winding down. We're making some progress, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your time.
All right, we'll try that, we'll try for Tuesday morning, see what happens.
That sounds great.